Well, let's say that it was a normal practice to perform the salute to the island. And that particular night, the minimum safe distance planned from shore side was 1 kilometer from the island. And simply like that, it was a very easy passage to perform, because if you can imagine that in North Europe, all the officers, the conning officers, they are certified to perform the navigation in a narrow water than that one. Anybody is able to do that maneuver, let's say that passage. And that night I went to the bridge 5 minutes, 6 minutes before, because it was only my intention to salute to the island, to blow the whistle, nothing more. Mm-hmm. And I realized that the officer was still performing the navigation with the computer mode, with the autopilot. And it was a standing order that from me, that each time you are, let's say, navigating close to the land or in presence of a traffic, it's better to switch on manual mode in order that you can have a better control of your ship. And he just said, okay, I do that. And he went to steer the ship from manual from autopilot to manual mode. And he was supposed only to keep the ship on course, nothing more. And because I had some guests on the bridge, I was talking with them. And all of a sudden, the guy said to me, Captain, you are steering on course 290 with the intention to passing the command to me. And as before, I was ordering to him, just for confirmation, to keep the navigation at 0.5 nautical miles from shore. That means 1 kilometer from land. He didn't say a word, and I realized that the ship was off course, off of the planned course. And I realized some white foam in the dark, and I realized the presence of shallow water in front of me. And as soon as I was realizing the danger that was straight ahead of my ship, I was performing and avoiding maneuver to avoid the frontal impact, and I did it. And I went with the rudder arc to starboard. That means that I was altering the course on the starboard. And in order to avoid, because when you drive the ship, it is like, the ship turns on the aft, because the rudders are placed on the aft. In order to reduce the swinging of the stern towards the rocks, I was ordering the rudders to be placed hard to port soon after that I was avoiding with the bow of the rocks. And it appears, it's not me that I'm saying that the helmsman, he was not following my orders, and he was keeping on the rudder on the starboard. And this is the reason why the swinging, the gliding of the stern went through the rocks. Otherwise, even at the very last moment, I would have been able to avoid this impact. Now, there are many associations that they have used a simulator in which they took all the data of the ship, they built up the island and everything, and they realized that in case the helmsman would ever follow it, my order in my last desperate tentative to avoid the rocks, it appears that the ship would have passed safely at a minimum distance of at least 15 meters. It's too short, I know, but even 1 meter would have been enough. And that's it. I believe that today the market is requiring a high number of officers, and the careers, I'm not blaming nobody. This is simply my examination, the lesson to be learned of this accident. And everybody I believe they have to serve for more time in their rank, because the promotion, they are moving up on their career too fast. And no one of the bridge team said a word because they have to do that. As captain, we are already, of course, we are already at this minimum distance. Be aware that I was turning late or whatever, and be aware that we have rocks ahead. It's not a professional way to pass the command and say, now, okay, I give you the cone and you take the cone. I mean, there are many reasons why this accident took place. I'm not blaming nobody because I don't like the blaming culture. You know, for more than 1 year, I keep silent. I like that this process will be held in court. But as long as they were trying to speculate on this accident, because since the beginning, no one was telling this story. I believe that since I believe that this is normal, because I've been very tough as a man, I believe, because for almost 2 years I am keeping silent, because to me it doesn't make sense to replay or to me, now I like that people slowly, they will build up in their mind exactly which were the problem and why. Yeah. Whenever you abandon something, is something that you have the intention to do that. As everybody can see, and in this case, I understand the power that the media, they have. They can make a brainwash to the people. And even if the ship was not really sinking, even in an upright position, even if the ship now is completely capsized on one side, and considering the fact that I was leaving, I may use this word so we can avoid any kind of a misunderstanding, I was affected by gravity at the very last moment that the ship was capsizing on the starboard side. I have witnesses that I was forced to go out of the ship together with the second in command of the ship. We have also a second captain on board the ship. He was 15 meters far from me. And the ship was tilting over. As a matter of fact, it's still there in that position. And it's not that soon after the accident I went away or after 1 hour. No. I was exactly there on the vital point where we were handling the emergency. And all of a sudden, I heard a crash of all the windows. And you can imagine that due to the crashes of these windows, a lot of water was entering inside that side, and the ship was tilting over one side all of a sudden. And there was a lifeboat that was almost trapped in below the two extended arms that are used to lower the lifeboat. Because I was arranging a kind of tendering operation in order to be sure to evacuate all the passengers. I never went on the lifeboat that was lowered from the ship to sea. I have been affected by the gravity, and I was able to avoid that the last lifeboat that was coming from shore to the ship was remaining under the gravity of the ship. If I understand this, and I don't blame nobody, I blame those that since the beginning they were sidetracking, deceiving the public opinion from understanding which was and why some decisions were taken that night. There are many things, otherwise I would never accept to have a public trial, because I know that this is the only way to explain exactly what was going on that night. And I will do that in front of the world, because I don't like that the process will be broadcast, but many journalists are allowed inside, and they can see and they can have their own idea after they hear what they can hear what I have to say to them. My responsibility since the beginning as a captain, but there are many other things that, because after 2 years from this accident, still people didn't have a chance to understand why, what was going that night. As you understand, there are many interests involved in this, and I do understand that. But we have to learn from this accident, and industry is already took advantage of that in terms of new bridge team procedures, because considering the elevated number of ships that are on the market, so we are now educating the officer with different standards in order that they can execute navigation in the safest way. So we understand that a cruise ship, you cannot even consider that you can count almost 5,000 passengers in 30 minutes and then abandon the ship. So there is some vital issues that we have to consider. I said that since the beginning to everybody, and still I don't understand why no one is ready to accept that if there is a person that feels sorry in this accident, it's me. No one can understand, if you are not a captain, no one that is not in my shoes can even imagine what is going on inside me. And you see how the media can brainwash people. Thanks to thanks to it was an accident. Soon after the accident, you have to assess the damage, the extension of the damage, because if you overreact and you decide to abandon the ship, and the ship, instead of sinking, remains floating, you imagine that it's not an easy decision, the one that you have to say to a community of more than 4,000 passengers, you just leave the ship, and then later on we will see. Because still, during the abandoning process of the ship, you can provoke casualty. So it's a difficult decision that you have to be sure that the ship will sink. It's not, an easy things to assess. As a matter of fact, you need, with the technical advisor, that you need ashore to have a consultant, and you need more than 1 hour to understand whether or not you have to leave the ship. Now, the ship that we have, we carry 5,000 passengers on board, and we have to understand the survivability of a ship after an accident. Things are different if the community on board is only 300, 500 or 1,000 persons. And in that case, let's say you may have time for counting people, but you have to understand that this was a completely different scenario, and you have to adapt the scenario to the condition, to the morphology of the land, the vicinity of the land, whether or not the ship is drifting to shore. Okay. Do not stop the ship by using the anchor and let the ship to sink in the deepest water. If you imagine that we have a computer, the NAPA computer, that is vital for the captain to assess, is a decisional support, and if you consider that computer failed to operate completely because of the blackout, if you consider now the new regulations are coming up, and that computer that is vital for the safety of the ship, because you don't have a magic ball that somebody tells you whether or not you have to abandon the ship. But it's not easy decision to take at that moment. And today, after they were learning from the accident, now they have ordered to keep that computer permanently connected without the sockets that is removable to the batteries. There are things that can be improved, of course. The mistake was to utilize the first officer and all the people of the bridge team according the rule and the rank that they are paid for to be covered. Everybody on board has a position, and that was not really a maneuver. That was saying to you was a passage. My mistake that I was relaying on people that they are paid to perform that job. And it's not me that I'm saying that. It's the black box. That thanks to God was possible to recover. But the original, the real black box was not working. And because the ship was not fully submerged, and is, as you can still see here, half part of the ship is dry, one computer was taken from the wheelhouse and was brought ashore, and then it was possible to recover all the data of the navigation. And from that, we can learn now, and we can understand exactly, because many people, they were just making a statement, and they were confident that the truth would never come out, because everybody thought that the I think that you can punish a child, no? I am a man. I don't think it's the proper word to be used, punishment. You punish somebody that is doing something wrong. If you kill somebody, here we have, I believe that the court, and I am confident that the court is interested in assessing in a fine and to make homage, to pay tribute to all those people that they died. We have to make this, we are compelled to find out exactly what was going on that night. And that this is a priceless duty of this court, and I'm confident that they will do that. Okay.